I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Warrenville Public Library District. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, and it is 7:12 p.m. And I'm going to do our roll call. Trustee Lazan.
Here.
Trustee Pika.
Present.
Trustee Schmidt.
Here.
Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee Stoll. Here. Trustee DeRocher is here. And Executive Director Stolman is here. And the beautiful panel of excellent experts and department heads are here. And others. Let's do our oath of office, shall we?
Yeah.
Oh, Secretary?
Where's Kathy? We have to, oh, okay, we've done this down further. Okay.
Stand up, please.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got. Yeah. I, Sandy Lazan.
I, Sandy Lazan,
Having been duly elected
having been duly elected
to the office of trustee
to the office of trustee
of the Warrenville Public Library District,
of the Warrenville Public Library District,
County of DuPage, State of Illinois,
County of DuPage, State of Illinois,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustees
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again. Oh.
We want to do two. Okay, so we don't. One. Deputy Leland. What? She doesn't sign off.
All right. She'll be chasing me
Yeah.
down in the parking lot. Yeah, she'll be chasing me down.
On the election of the board officers, I am now calling for nominations for each officer. Is there a nomination for the office of president?
Would like to suggest Heather Stoll.
Heather, are you willing to accept that nomination?
Yes, I am.
Well, that's fabulous news. Is there a nomination for the office of vice president? I would like to nominate Sandy Lazan. She gave me a look. She doesn't like that idea.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
It's nothing to do.
I know.
Since you can't be treasurer anymore.
Yeah, I know, I can't.
Are you willing to accept that?
Yes.
Fabulous. All right, wonderful. Does anyone have a suggestion for the, or a nomination for secretary?
Connie Schmidt.
Jerry Pika is nominating Connie Schmidt. Connie,
I would do that.
how do you feel about that? You
I
can do
will.
that.
Ask if I can have some counsel from the esteemed.
The esteemed current secretary, yes.
At times.
She charges money hours. Yeah.
You'll be fine.
All right. And we're down to a nomination for treasurer.
Do I get to go sit over there?
Well, eventually. Anybody?
How about you, Barbara?
Is that a formal nomination?
That's a formal nomination.
Well, yes, I will. I've never done it before.
Okay.
I've worn a lot of hats, not this one. So why not? You'll have to tell me what to do, Sandy. I'm sure you're just begging to do that, aren't you? All right. Okay, so could someone make
I
a
move
motion?
to appoint for the 2025 to 2027 term Heather Stoll as board president, Sandra Lazan as vice president, Connie Schmidt as secretary, and Barbara DeRocher as treasurer.
Second. The motion was made by trustee Pika and seconded by trustee Lazan.
Oh, Barbara, you're gonna be the secretary.
Oh, yeah. Can we do all things?
I think that this year it has to be rolled off.
Yes.
Trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Pika,
Aye.
trustee Schmidt,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Stowe. Aye, and trustee DeRocher votes aye. We now have a new slate. Does it take place tonight? Are we gonna play musical chairs? Can we just sit where we are?
Well, I
Where you
I'm
are.
sitting where I am, and I'm
Okay.
just taking the authority over.
That's right, you just take it over.
Am I
girl.
supposed to write
Well,
something down?
So,
If I could consult with the new secretary.
please do consult. Consult away.
Okay with you.
What is it, next to Sure. Maybe
I
I
think-
could just go sit next to
You have to still sign everything. I can't sign anything yet.
Yeah, because they're from the last.
I can,
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So you finish.
I can't sign anything yet.
You got two legs to free about there. Besides your own.
You're good.
So. Oh, so definitely I'll use. Yeah, no, no. Actually, I can do that first, get seated. So, basically, what we do. It's, you don't want to take down anything, so that's not the objective, that's up to Jeff. Jeff does that. So you're not only recording times, you'll allow them recording times here. So I usually put it together.
Okay.
Then, again, we had a recording, made the motion, who seconded it, and then for it was roll call vote, or this roll call is that it's called a change.
What, yeah, that is, well, how do you know? We'll talk about it.
Yeah, so anyway, so then again, always down. So then. That's all we do. I always know who did the vote, right?
So Connie wants to take the minutes by herself.
So now we're on to the consideration of board committee assignments for 2025.
That's the president. Oh, yeah, you're on president.
And that's why you're not the secretary.
Okay.
Ladies, like, do we want to take a picture of the whole new board, like the treasurer should get over it? Vice President? I would like to suggest that Jerry and I
Yes,
do the personnel committee.
I'm good with that.
Is that good?
Yes.
Good with that?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Are you good with that?
Sorry,
Are
I'm
you ready
not
to,
sure what month.
you ready to be off the personnel committee?
Yeah.
I bet you are.
I don't know, there's really no.
That's
Well,
like tax time to me, that's like the worst time of year.
Yeah.
What are the months? What are the months that are most? March and April?
Oh, it's probably not good for you because you're gonna be traveling.
No, not next, no, not the minutes.
Okay,
Different, they're different times this time.
Rick, what do you think about the city library task force?
As what?
Being on it, if it ever
Yeah, I can do that.
engages
Yeah, I can do that.
again,
Yeah,
ever,
sure.
like, ever.
It seemed like that was kind of the holy grail of something, but,
It doesn't seem to do much these days.
well.
Maybe you
I
can make
do
it something.
Not so much.
How about if you stomp on over to the city hall, and see if
There
you
you
can
go.
make some noise?
See what Andy's got.
I wouldn't mind, helping out with that if, if you ever needed help with that, I would.
Connie, you're already on it. Did you know that?
Yeah, you're already on it.
That's why I'm
Okay,
saying I'm there to help.
okay. Yeah, let's put Rick and Connie.
Yeah.
Open Meetings Act.
Well, Jason obviously is gonna stay on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rick, you are such a good fit for that. It's your wheelhouse.
But he's been on it for 2 years.
Like that, this is not a, this is.
Oh, this doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's okay.
doesn't matter.
He could be on it for the next
Now
50
it
years.
does count.
You wanna stand?
Yeah, 'cause,
So that means you'd have to take that training again.
gee, I don't know. It was hard. It's fine.
Oh, here, Barbara, we don't need to decide.
All right.
FOIA officers stay the same, so it's just that under the ethics advisor, the ethic advisor wants to keep being ethical.
That's fine.
You want to continue being ethical?
Sure.
So how long have you been the ethics advisor? You have
Probably
context,
12 years.
Yeah, a long time.
any context as to what, have you ever had to do anything?
No,
All right.
that's why we did it.
It's on us to make sure we're being ethical.
There hasn't been an issue.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep
wonderful.
it that way.
Yeah, there hasn't been a reason to be, to do anything, which is good.
Ethical.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All righty.
Okay, so then, approve the agenda.
Oh, I move. Yeah, start moving now.
Yeah, you can start
Go for
moving.
it. You're never gonna shut me up. All right. I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Second,
2 seconds, Jerry. Okay, I would like to request that the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 16th be removed because I'm suggesting an amendment or a change to them.
What is it?
Now we have to amend them.
We have to amend the closed session?
No, the regular board meeting.
I guess I will, we think you'd have to remove them, but when we get to the consent agenda, you could vote for an amendment. Once we have the motions,
Oh,
then during discussion, you could vote for an amendment to it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we're gonna approve the agenda as amended?
No.
It's not the agenda that needs.
yeah,
amending,
it's just the minutes that are regular. Okay, I just didn't know if we had to remove them from the consent agenda.
so we need a vote.
So
Okay.
then we can just vote on the agenda.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, so then, now I get to call everybody. So, Sandy Lozano.
Hi.
Jerry
Peekaboo
Jerry-
side.
Okay, and Connie Schmidt
Hi.
and Rick Warren.
Aye.
Okay, and Barbara Wilshire.
Aye.
Okay, and that is. And then Trustees votes aye also, so that, okay, the motion passes. And the trustee and the agenda is approved as written. Okay, so then we have a presentation.
I think ahead of time, we know it's gonna be fabulous. Absolutely. Never rock this. The way things.
Yes, I just wanted.
Oh.
I just wanted to see, like, just when she walked up there.
Because we've got an expert.
I do right.
Has that done it? Handout.
Voice vote, voice vote.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I could.
It's been a while since I flew on.
Okay.
Maybe I could.
All right, so my name is Gail and I work in acquisitions and cataloging. And I'm gonna give you a quick brief presentation on the birth of the library book. And how acquisitions and cataloging gets books ready for the members. You can hit next for me. So where does it start? The librarians and the associates are the ones who select all the books to be purchased. They have a full process that's a little bit before today's. Sending an email to myself and Mary Kelly, my boss, to let us know that the carts are ready to order. And then we print out a tracking sheet, which I gave you guys a copy of. It's just a very basic spreadsheet that I put together that helps me and Mary Kelly keep track of the process, because it is quite a lengthy process for each book or each part that we have to order. We want to make sure that we're not skipping anything because it messes up the entire week if we do. And people still need to ask us questions or, hey, can you fix this? Or this isn't showing up right or anything like that. So it's just a good tracker for us.
Wait, stop. What's the definition of a cart?
A cart is a, like your Amazon cart.
Ah, okay.
I apologize. Yeah, it's gonna be like an Amazon cart, but in a smaller definition, each
So
collection is a
therefore-
different cart, yes, is a different order.
How many would be in a cart?
It depends on how many books that they're ordering. They can go from, just 2 to 3 books. For a specific collection, and we can bump all the way up to probably 70 or 80.
Oh.
If we do the really teeny tiny non-fit, every country kind of thing.
Okay.
For the youth department. Okay. So once the selectors have all put their stuff together, we get emails from Julie and Paul. Julie is is from Youth Services, and she just happens to be the one who works Tuesday nights. Wednesday mornings is usually when we order. It's just, I don't know why that day, it just works for us. So it's typically Wednesday mornings. So Julie will send over and say, yes, all the youth carts are ready to go. And then Paul will also send over, an email from another vendor that we get a copy of. And that's just his way of saying the adult carts are ready to go and have at it. So Baker and Taylor, they are our primary book source. We do occasionally go with a different vendor or salesperson, and very slightly we do go through Amazon if we can't get it through Baker and Taylor. But they are our primary vendor for books. Title Source 360 is the service that they use. So this is what our home screen looks like, just to kind of give you guys an idea of that. So here, we've got the name of the cart. We have the status that this was ordered. This is just a screenshot from previous. How many total titles that they've got. And then this is where all of our information is going to be that we're going to be playing with next on the next screen. All right, so now we have chosen that order and we are going to review and submit the order. So we're working with a J Fiction cart from this morning. It says that we have 12 titles and we are ordering 12 books. Sometimes if they're ordering 12 titles, but 15 books, they want 2 copies of something. Maybe it could be for a holiday that's coming up or a giveaway or something of that nature. Our job is to select the proper bank account that it's going to go to so that it gets paid properly. And then we have to put in a purchase order number. That number can be made up, but we have a system that works so that we can then call Baker and Taylor and track back and know exactly where we're at. Hey, this book hasn't shown up yet. What's going on with it? That kind of thing. Once we go ahead and do that, then we're going to hit submit order and you get a ta-da, your order has been submitted. This is our made up number. So I use the month, the date, the year, and this is the first cart that I did today. So it's got a 1. If it was the 10th card I did, it would be at 10. If it was the 5th, so on and so forth. All right, so downloading a MARC record. MARC record is the basics of cataloging. If you think of a library as a franchise rather of a bakery. So all the different libraries out there are all bakeries and we're all selling cupcakes and we sell the same cupcakes. So the MARC record is going to have all the same ingredients for the same title. So if you're ordering the vanilla bean Madagascar Putin, all libraries are going that have that cupcake are going to have the same MARC record. So this, since we are a copy cataloging, I'm going to go off topic a little bit. We are a copy cataloging library as opposed to an original. So this means that we're pulling that information that really behind the scenes in depth, every, space and point and dash perfectly. They're coming from the vendor for us and then input into Swan. What we're going to do then is we're going to take that, we have to pull that information out, say, yes, we want this book. And then later in the process, we will decide what color frosting we want on those cupcakes. And that's what makes that our cupcake. If that, I'm trying to make an alliteration, is that the right word? I'm trying to make it seem, so we're all getting the vanilla bean Madagascar cupcake, but ours has the pink frosting. Well, everybody else has a yellow or a blue or a pink or a green rather. So when you're placing a hold, that's what kind of makes our book different than everybody else's book, is the item record that we're going to get to doing. I apologize, I'm a little off topic there. So we're back at Title Source 360. Here you can see all the different actions that we can do. So we're going to also need to download the cart here. Another one that we can do is do reports. So first we're going to do download. We're going to select the Swan books on record and we're going to save those. I save them for 2 years. Duncan likes to try to clean up our little server system. I like to hoard all those files. I don't know why. It's what I do. But we have a system. So these BBs stand for board books, and this is the date, and the MRC is MARC. So we save them all for each time that we go ahead and order. And then the reports. This is where we're going to print out our order cards. So now we're almost done with this whole process. We're going to pull it up and we're going to print out these order cards. These are the youth ones. These are the adult. I'll show you the examples here coming up. But it's basically just printed on our normal printer. We order 3x5 cards that are stuck together, so we have to mark them up the way we like to, and then we rip them apart and file them. Next, now that we've printed those cards up, we're gonna go into Blue Cloud Acquisitions. So we are actually one of the pilot libraries for Swan using Blue Cloud Acquisitions. We were one of 3. I think we're now like one of 7 or 8. I think a few more have joined. I personally love it. It's another system to cataloging, and it's more keyboard friendly instead of mouse clicky. It's fantastic in my opinion, but moving on. We need to bring those mark records that we downloaded from Baker and Taylor's website, and we need to put those here in Blue Cloud to say to all of our public, hey, we've got this book on order. We've got this book on order. You're fine. So we're going to import all those records. So here is that J Fiction book again. I want to make sure that it says it's coming from Baker and Taylor. And then all of those books then appear once I say import file. So the things that I'm going to look for is make sure that there are no big red flags, literal red flags that they put on the screen. I want to make sure that all the fields seem to be filled in. I don't need to know what they all say. I'm okay as long as it doesn't have something bizarre. And then I take a very, very minimal brief look at the cost. The only reason I look at the cost, what the departments spend in their budget is not my forte. But if most of the books are 10 or under, and there's a $37 book, I might go back to Paul if it was his cart, or go back to the youth department if it's theirs, and just make sure, hey, did we really want to do this? Is this really what we wanted to do? Or were you expecting this, or is there some kind of problem? Next. So we have selected all of those, and they are all now officially approved, which means that we can put out into our catalog saying, hello, we're getting this book, it's coming soon. So next up then, we are done with the computer work for the most part until the books arrive. We're going to mark up our order cards. So on the sheets that I passed out, I did have a few examples. We won't go over all of them unless you have questions, but we'll look at the first page. These are 3 just older order cards that I pulled out of random. And this is the way that we like to mark them up. It has all kinds of information. You can see the title, who the author is. A little further down, you can see the price of the book. All the way down at the bottom, we can see the cart name. So this is going to be, the first one is board books. That means that she's got all the titles that are considered board books in the same cart. And then at the very, very bottom, it's highlighted and it says DABB M sticker and tape. So DA is for Diana. That was her pick. She wants it under M for mouse, as opposed to Baranowski for the author. She wants a sticker because it says a holiday. It's a St. Patrick. So we have certain holiday stickers. So we're going to put that on the side. And we're going to put a piece of the green tape that says storage on it. And that just means that it's located in our storage department. It's always available. If you find it on the catalog, we can pull it out for you. But it only comes out on the floor for certain holiday displays or specific displays. The next one down, similar concept. This one here was a Julie pick. It's a juvenile nonfiction. It has a sale date of April 1st, so that we got this book before with the sale date. So we set it aside. We denote that it's April 1st. And then also the numbers, the 971.6175. This is where I looked up on a different outside website, outside source, where we have other books on this topic. So I can decide where it's going to fit in our collection. There's no point in having a book about hot dogs here and a book about hot dogs way down there on a different shelf. So that's kind of the basics for there. And the bottom one is very similar. It's a Julie pick. It's just a juvenile biography. And the sale date is April 1st. So I gave you a couple of different ideas. I believe most of them are new or youth rather. If you have questions about them, I'm happy to.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Is there a legal reason or ethical reason why you cannot circulate it until the sale date?
There is a legal reason. I don't know. It's based on the publisher and they give us the sale date for sure. And it's just like you can't purchase the book before that date. We can't give it available to the public before that date. I know that if we get caught and turned in, I'm not sure who, maybe Jason or one of the others can figure it out. But I know if we get caught, it's a pretty big fine. And that's not something that I want to risk for us. So we're very still stinted, and you'll see further in my presentation that we have a special spot for future sale dates. There we keep them and they're denoted for the date, and on that date, then we pull them out for the floor.
I'll just interject and say, some publishers, a lot of publishers are checking, but there are the occasional publishers that are, like Scholastic. In my last library, we I don't remember which book it was, book 5, we'll say, of Harry Potter. We gave it out to a few people a couple of days before the release date, and we got phone calls from Scholastic saying, get those back now. So we don't want that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just pretty much a picture of the colors, because I like to color code everything, there's no real back there. So we have, hooray, we've made it to delivery day. All of our books come in via UPS. In these 2 Baker Taylor boxes. Now you can't zoom in far enough, but you will see on here that this is adult and this is youth or vice versa. So it helps us keep track of what we're opening and when we're opening it. We also want to make sure that the books are, or that the order is complete before we open it and get it started. So if this one says box 1 of 2, this one should say 2 of 2. If this says 1 of 2, we're gonna wait till the next day and make sure that we get 2 of 2. We want to complete order, keep the paperwork straight, keep everything going together. Next, please. All right, so now we need to pull those cards. We've colored all those cards, we pulled them apart, we have filed them. This is our filing system that we use. This is the juvenile only filing system. So this is J fiction and J nonfiction. And we had a bit of an issue, so these are my backup. Maybe we need these, maybe they're interfiled already. I'm having trouble, so they're on a project for me to fix up tomorrow. But that's what got going on. And then over here is a copy of the packings list that comes in the shipments. So we've now opened the box, we've taken all the books out, and we'll put them on a card. Now we have to go through, this list is alphabetical, so sometimes we'll put the books in alphabetical on the cart before we get started. And sometimes it's easy enough just to pick them and pull them. But we need to find the card that matches and the book that matches and mark it here. You'll see these bold spots here. This is the spot where we know that that's a future sale date. And that's what's gonna help save us from any of those legal issues that could arise off of that. Next, yes,
How many boxes do you normally have like that you?
it varies again based on what they order. We've had times when there's, probably 5 or 6 boxes at the same time. That come, and you gotta think about how many books are in a box. Adult books are generally the same thickness if they're hardbacks. And if they're paperbacks, they're generally the same thickness, you have your exceptions. Whereas youth, you have all of them, they're, the picture books are this big, you have the J fiction this big, the YA, so there's usually quite a few more physical books in a youth box than there is for adults. But that doesn't necessarily make it any easier or harder, but we can be dealing with books for a couple of days.
Seems like you'd have a lot of carts, though.
We have 2 that we work off of mostly.
Oh, okay.
We hammer them out pretty quick. I have a big one for the youth because I typically try to handle most of the youth department, and Mary Kelly does most of the adult department, and that's just the way we've divvied up the goodies, if you will.
Oh, excuse me, how
Yes.
often do you order?
Every week. Typically, there's, an exception of a holiday or if the library's putting on a giant event. Like I think we may have been delayed or we had small carts when we did FanCon. Just not too long ago, but generally every week. So the next step, we've got those books, we have the cards in them, we know what we're doing. We need to place a barcode in them. We get our barcodes from another company, they come in a sheet. Yes, we keep track of the numbers. All of our barcodes start with 34901. That is our number. Again, that's above me. I don't know why, but it always has been and always will be 34901. We'll start off any barcode. So we do have a list. When we run low, we call the company again. We say we need to start here and we'd like to order this many or whatever. This label here at the bottom is a little fuzzy. I couldn't get it to come into picture, no matter how many times I tried. That is what we're calling our ownership label. It goes on the back of most of our books. It has our name, our address, and then the date, or the month and the year rather. And that's more for internal use of when did the book come in and how long have we had it. So if it's starting to fall apart at the binding and it's something that I can't repair, that gives us a clue as to, well, we've had it for, 7 years. This is okay. Let's get another one. Or, oh, this was an issue with the binding with the, manufacturing or whatever. Is there an issue going on? We'll contact and say, hey, we're having issues. will contact the manufacturer and that kind of thing. So we have, now we have our book, we have our card, we have our stickers. Next,
Quick fun fact. So all this library, if you've worked in Swan for a while, you might recognize some of the barcodes as 24901 being Warrenville, but 24901 is your library card.
I
So
figured that out.
The 2 is your library card and the 3 is the material. Just fun.
Oh, here, I thought you were gonna tell us what we have 902.
all right, so now we need to decide if we are gonna wrap the jackets or we're going to take the spines. We do all of our processing here in-house. So it's another step. You can barely see it. I wasn't sure how to photograph it. These are gonna be our jackets. They're gonna be the clear coating that comes on most picture books. Or anything that has that dust jacket already on it. We're gonna have to hand wrap it manually and then put it back onto the book. If it does not have one of those, then we take the spine. We've got several tape dispensers, 2-inch, 3-inch, and 4-inch width. This is book tape. It looks like Scotch. It's made by Scotch, but it's actual book tape. It's not packing tape. It's not make your boxes tape. It's magical tape. We love it. But we tape all of the spines to help reinforce the book. Because everybody, you know, the nature of a public library is to open, close, open, close, open, close. So we gotta get it ready. Next, please. All right, so now we have processed most of the book. Let's get ready to catalog it. We're gonna use it in Blue Cloud. Blue Cloud, like I said, is my favorite part of this because they are so keyboard friendly. So this is the receiving pointer. This is the receiving website or page, if you will. And so what happens is I'm gonna scan the ISBN or the UPC, one and the same, scan that little barcode that automatically comes on the book, and it's gonna pop up here. I'm gonna take a quick look. Does this picture match mine? Does the last 4 numbers match mine? And then this spot here will be blank. And this is where I'm going to now scan my barcode that I applied to the book that goes inside the front cover. And that's the 34901. So now I have received it. You'll see a little bit of notes, just like on the order cards. This is gonna remind me that it's a Julie's order, and it's gonna be a young adult fiction book. Next screen. So now we're ready to create our item record. This is where we put our frosting on our cupcake. This is what makes it ours. So you can see that we have 2 now. We have this WBD is Warrenville. We have an on order and we have an available soon. So the on order comes up completely blank. These are all the spots that we need to fill in and take care of. If you go to the next screen, it looks very similar, except for now it says available soon. I clicked on that one. This is where we have cataloged this book. So it's gonna be a Dewey. This is the call number we're gonna put it at. This is the same barcode. If this was the same book, this isn't the same book. And then we switch all of these, you know, little drop downs to figure out, do we want it under new, nonfiction, young adult? It's a new book. We want it at Warrenville. It's gonna be available soon. It goes to teens, and yes, it is a book, so on and so forth. There's a couple more fields down below that we'll need to fill in, but this pretty much is our frosting, if you will. Next. Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna get rid of that on order record. So you can see here that we have on order and available soon. We're back in the other system, and we're literally just gonna send it to discard. This just gets rid of it. Says that we are no longer available or on order. We have it. It may not be available for you to check out at the moment, but it's in the building and it's ready to go. Next, we're almost there, guys. This is where we need to print our spine labels and we need to modify them as necessary. So this is like me showing you that we have a future sale date of 5/27. So these are all the books that we cannot put out until then. We put all the new tape on the top. We put all the spine labels and label protectors over them. We need to make sure that we spelled everything correctly, obviously. But some of our formatting needs to be done by hand, such as the abbreviations or the first, the initials, if you will. I can't read this one, but this one is an A.A. For the author's first and middle name that they choose to go by. So those are all the things that we need to consider. We'd also put in dots. You can go to the next one. We'd also put in these dots for the young readers to know what level. These ones go on the board books. These are the holiday stickers that I was telling you about. This is that green storage tape I was telling you about. And then this here is the new, every month we get a new and a number tape that goes around the top. So this is just a collection, a small collection of some of the extra peripherals that go into each and individual book. Next. After that point, we have now finished the book. It is cataloged, it is ready to go. It's got all of its pretty stickers. The frosting is done. The adult books all go out to the pages, so they're gonna get checked in with the page, staff. And then they're gonna get shelved, whether that be there already holds on it, they go to those holds. Or they're gonna go out on the new, in the new section on the floor. The youth department stuff goes to their pod. The reason that I believe, I hate to say we've done it that way forever, but I believe the reason being is that we have so many more youth books because of their size and their cost. That they want the whole team to be easier and more freshly aware of the new stuff coming in, instead of just look at the section. It's no, these ones are going out this week. Oh, look, we've picked a lot of this title or this author or this style. So, that's where those all go. I think we're just about there. Oh, is that all that I do? Or Mary Kelly as well? No. So we have 9 different youth book collections that could be ordered every week. And we have 5 adult books collections that could be ordered every week. So you take all of those, but then we also deal with the memory cares, the playaways, the magazines, the youth puzzle collection, the sensory kits, the board game collection, the audiobooks, the physical ones. Music CDs, DVDs, the STEAM kits and discovery packs and the tech to go. All of those things need all different kinds of processing, stickers, printing and all that kind of stuff. So that's, we do quite a bit. Today was just a small blip on print books only. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Any questions? Thanks. Any questions, anything else I can answer for you guys? I know you're trying to move along, so. Thank you. All right.
Wait, how often do you order DVDs?
Weekly as well, generally speaking. Yep.
You're so.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
That was great.
Thank you. Grab my stuff.
Okay, so I'm kind of looking around. Right now, I don't see any public, so it doesn't look like we have any public comments unless I miss somebody. So basically, do we have any correspondence?
No,
Okay, so then I would like to ask the secretary to read the consent agenda. Right here.
Okay, so, the consent agenda, approved minutes of the April 16th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting. Approved minutes of the April 16th, 2025 regular board meeting. Approved minutes of the April 16th, 2025 closed session meeting. Receive and file financial report for April 2025, receive and file canvass and abstract of votes cast at the consolidated general election held in DuPage County on Tuesday, April 1, 2025.
Do
I move that we, accept the consent agenda as read.
I'll second.
Okay, so that, the motion was made by trustee DeBoer and second by trustee Warren. So that I would like to have we can have a voice vote on that.
So do we have discussion? And I'm asking because was there something that we
Yeah.
wanted, to make a change?
So I was suggesting that the minutes of the regular board of trustees meeting, that where, I'll find it. That,
page 12.
yes, page 12 of the meeting packet, where it mentions that Director Stallman returned to the closed session at 8:22, that be removed because we already have it on the closed session minutes. We don't need to have that as part of the regular board meeting. Because
Just need that line.
just that line, yeah, just that line.
Okay.
So, because again, it refers to everybody leaving the open meeting and us going into closed session, but then. Again, it shouldn't refer to somebody coming into the closed session, if that makes sense. Everybody. Okay, so, and it does refer to Director Stallman, Executive Director Stallman coming in back into the closed session on the closed session minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's just the removal of one. So based on that,
I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
okay,
So
so,
that, Sandy?
yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Lazat. So then if I could have a voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
We have to do this as a rule.
Yeah,
Oh,
because it's
okay.
money.
Okay, that's all right.
All right.
Roll call
I
vote.
love this.
You ready?
That took me a long time to learn it.
It's good.
Money or policy, just MP.
Okay. So, trustee DeRosa.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
And trustee Stoll votes aye as well. The motion carries and the consent agenda is approved as read as amended. Okay, so then on to the regular agenda. So then if I could have.
I move that we pay invoices in the amount of $69,693.37 for the period of April 17th, 2025 through May 21st, 2025, including electronic payments and checks number 10498 through 10557. Checks number 10548 and 10555 are voided.
Second.
Okay, so the motion was made by trustee Pika and seconded by trustee DeRosa. So then if I can have a roll call vote, trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee DeRosa.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
And trustee Stoll votes aye as well. So motion carries and payments are approved. So then,
I move that we transfer $175,000 from commercial checking accounts to operating check.
Second.
okay, so a motion was made by trustee DeRosa and seconded by trustee Warren. So if I could, then trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee DeRosa,
Aye.
trustee Schmidt,
Aye.
trustee Pika.
Aye.
And trustee Stoll votes aye, so motion carries for the transfer of funds. So we are now on to the unfinished business, starting on page 27. Item A is approving the fiscal year 26 working budget. So I would turn that over to Jason.
My turn.
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't make too many changes from the first draft that I presented last month, but a few of the highlights were, a little database that I forgot to include. For the Directors University, I took off because it won't happen until next year if it happens at all. Depending on funding. I added in training for the AED device that we're going to get. Although it's possible we might be able to get some free training. Still looking for that. Per Heather's suggestion last month, I tweaked. I took off the full conference and just made it for the trustee day for ILA and the exhibit hall only for ALA.
Good.
Since I wasn't sure really in the end how many of you had time to go to the whole conference. So, but then I was able to budget for a couple more people. So we've got 5 trustees for trustee day if we have that many available, and 3 for ALA.
Okay.
And then just added a little more for some staff trustee shirts.
And we still have the one trustee going to PLA, correct?
We do, that is, yeah, yes, that didn't change. So, so those are really the biggest changes I made. So some of that was addition, some of it was subtraction, and the overall whole of it, it increased the budget by $1,325. So, and it's decreased the deficit by that much, but. So.
Okay.
But again, this is, it accounts for several of the things that we were planning to do with the strategic plan. Kind of as a reminder, it accounts for 2% COLA raise plus an up to 2% merit raise for staff. That accounts for the increases in, I had estimated a 10% increase or moving that IMRF starting January 1st would be 10%. And lo and behold, it was 10%. So it was a lucky guess on my part. I was hoping it was going to be less than that so that we'd save some money, but it wasn't. And then I believe I guesstimated for the health insurance 12% increase. And we had a meeting with Limerick, their online meeting this week, where it's just an estimate so far. It's not their actual projections, but they estimated 12% increase. So it managed to walk out on that as well.
Wow, good job.
Of course, as they like to emphasize multiple times throughout the presentation, that is just an estimate. So it could be 10%, it could be 15%, we don't know, but for their estimates, I've guessed correct. So,
Go buy a lottery ticket.
I move that we approve the fiscal year 26 working budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Lazan. So then if we could have a roll call vote,
Do we have any further discussion?
I would just like to say on my part, thanks to everybody on the board for such great work and Jason. Because I missed the budget process this year and I did review it. Looks excellent. Thank you.
Any
Sorry I
other
wasn't there to
comments?
help.
Any other comments or questions or discussion? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call. Trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Pico,
Aye.
trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Rocher.
Aye.
And trustee Snell votes aye, so the working budget is approved as presented. So then, okay, so then, the next, item B, starting page 38, is review draft of the 2025 through 2030 strategic plan. This discussion only, we don't need an action at this time.
So yeah, so
Wow.
in your packet, you have got a draft
Looks
like
great.
the strategic plan. It's not as pretty as it hopefully it will be with, I think, some at some point. But I know when our last discussion about it, you just liked when I had the overall summary from the learning report, you liked all the various headings of the summaries, key takeaways. So we tried to work in the priorities and goals to to be able to include all of it, so to make them big enough. I know some strategic plans are very specific. And I think the narrative there, like I mentioned, the first priority at one point I had as collections, but that seems just very limiting. So tried to make it some priorities that might encompass a little bit more, so that we try and fit in all of the things that we were all excited about. So staff and board and the public. So so the first I have the first part of it, I added vision and mission. So that was based on our discussions. So vision being create a connected and informed community that celebrates knowledge, diversity, and fun. Yeah, somebody, either Connie or Jill, that had, I think, passed that along. And then the mission, we strive to create a welcoming, safe space where the community can find diverse resources for learning and discovery, and be able to connect with each other through engaging spaces, programming services, and outreach. So the idea that the mission, the work we do through the mission, creates a world where that vision is realized. So hopefully I made that work, but I'm open to your thoughts, ideas, any changes. What do you think of that part?
Great work, team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really great work.
These,
So the Corvette services and values, then that was on our last strategic plan as ongoing responsibilities. I kind of like the idea of core services and values more, but
I agree.
go either way. But it's mostly the same list, but I added 2 bullet points. One with the was support literacy and connect readers to books, and then added one for providing positive support and benefits the staff to retain happy, healthy staff. So that has been part of what you all have been trying to do the last couple of years. So things relevant to add into our core services. So I've seen, looking at some of the other examples, some places have much more concise core services and values, which I liked, but as I kept rereading ours, trying to figure out how to shorten it, I liked what it said, so I didn't really do any shortening. So. And then on to the meaty part, the actual priorities and goals. Our first priority there is learn and grow. So we'll expand and promote our collection. So I've got a priority, and then I just try to give little descriptions for each of the priorities and the goals, so that you get a sense of what it means and encompasses. So expand and promote our collections, program, services to meet the evolving needs of our members. So the goals under there, we have collections, offerings, and library awareness. And then kind of narrative part that I gave you, I tried to give you, you can intuit some of the goals or the activities and projects that we'll do from the goals, but you may not be able to sense all of it. So I tried to list out under each goal what some of the potential projects are. So obviously for the collection, we've got, the Library of Things, expanding digital resources, or supporting that more, adding video game collection, board game collection for you. For offerings, offer more skills building, adult technology programs, notary services, explore the potential for adding B services, etc. And then for our library awareness, that was really a focus on what we heard from a lot of folks in focus groups was, you have a lot, we don't necessarily know how to use it. So just kind of, whether it's making people aware of what we've got, but also making them aware of how to use what we've got for access. So that was under Learn and Grow. And then under Community Connections, I think that's pretty obvious. Community engagement, that involves creating that outreach coordinator position. And I know initially in our previous strategic plan, that was more, it was more focused on the Spanish speaking population. And we're definitely going to focus on that. But hearing from the surveys and focus groups, it was like, oh, well, some folks would like, some attention for seniors. Some would like, I heard a lot about the segmented subdivisions around town. So it was, the Spanish speaking population is still a big main part of it, but I wanted to make it a little bit broader goal so that we can still reach some of these other populations that are also need some of our attention.
Are these aspects built into the job description?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was, what did you just say? Sorry.
Are these aspects of outreach built into that outreach coordinator job description?
And that's what I was gonna ask, is there a job description for that position yet?
We do, we're still working on it, but we're getting close to having it done.
Thank you.
Since that is, it was in. So for collaboration, that was just, working with local agencies, local government, businesses.
Since I have, and I think that we're all really excited about this
Yeah.
position, I would just really like to hear as part of your report, Paul, just updates about what's going on with those aspects of outreach. Just like, here's what's happening with outreach to the Spanish speaking population. Here's what's going on with outreach to the seniors. I just really like to know, because people ask about it, and I just feel like be an advocate and like to say, wow, we did, 14 programs for seniors this year, or whatever. So thanks.
Their goal was socialization and connection. So again, just how can we, whether it's through program or information board or whatnot, just trying to figure out ways to help Warrenvillians, feel connected, whether it's coming to meet at a program or whether it's space for them to chat, drink coffee or whatnot. So that was our priority 2, community connections, and then the priority 3, reimagining spaces. So optimized spaces was goal 1. Just heard a lot about better use the lower level. Is there any modeling we can do to add, study rooms or small meeting room space, etc. Then beyond the building, so adding those lockers, got our digital library, which is always 24/7, but I'm going to make some of the, picking up your holds or whatnot available, 24/7 as well for folks, and then exploring ideas how to get out in the community and bring the library to them. So, and then creating that accessible website as part of that as well. And then the sustainability. So that was, I heard from you all that is an important, and I know from 1 or 2 of the focus groups, people seemed, I think because it's a big picture item and folks were concerned that it would take away from all these other things. But in my mind, part of it is the sustainability part. If we can investigate solar panels, then maybe we're going to save who knows, I don't know, $10,000 on our electric bill. In which case, then that's $10,000 that we can either be putting towards future building projects, or we can put towards some of these other initiatives that we've got going on. So I think, I've thought about that as a way of, if somebody is like, why are you doing these things? Well, we want you to focus on this. I feel like, well, some of the savings will help us do those other things. Or just, help us keep a sustainable building, which buildings are one of your most expensive items for anybody who have business. So we've got to, keep that in mind. It's not the most exciting part of the plan, but.
It isn't it isn't until it fails.
Exactly. So on our end, I think that sustainability part is definitely really important. So that kind of sums it all up. Thoughts, comments, questions, changes?
Great work.
I was gonna say lots of excellent
Yes.
work.
I appreciated the thought process, you sharing some of the thought process in the narrative prior to this, and then the color coding, I mean, all that stuff is really helpful. Very well.
Definitely her layout and summary was fantastic. So thank you for everybody that did the.
Yeah, committee was wonderful. So.
Well written too.
Well, thank you. So then the idea is, it'll take shape as we get to that next stage. But the idea being, a 5-year plan is long. A lot of places do a 2-year plan, but it was a labor intensive process to gather all the input. So I want to do it just once for 5 years rather than 2 years. Maybe that's selfish on my part. But the idea is still that it is kind of more of a living document. Things are going to happen in the world, but hopefully these are broad enough that, whatever changes happen, it still kind of fits under this. But in my mind, I had a vision of like once a year, the committee would reconvene and say, all right, what ideas do we have, from all our feedback, review the feedback, the learning report, what ideas do we have for offerings? What do we have for librarians? What do we have for beyond the building? And just kind of pick out some of the things, hopefully not overwhelm ourselves. We'll pick out, some of our activities or projects, whatever you want to call them, to fit under each of the goals for the upcoming year. And then periodically throughout the year, we'll report to you all. And then maybe midway through the year, or even at the end of the year, committee reconvenes to review then, how did this last year go? How did we meet all those things? That's the report that we can bring to you all. And then we start planning year 2. And
And
so
you
kind of go
let
from there.
that to the board count.
So that was kind of what I envisioned, so that we don't necessarily, we're not creating this huge, I mean, we kind of have a little bit, but we're not creating this, end all be all list right now of things that we have to do. We can kind of take it year by year and see how it fits into this. And see if things have changed, like.
See, I almost see it as something, a building block, like this year, there's this block and then you're able to build on and add to the next block and, things would keep expanding or growing rather than like, okay, we have to accomplish all this or look at it that, okay, we have to do this within 5 years and see what little steps you can do it 1 year at a time. And eventually then you do get to the big picture.
Right.
At the end of 5. But this, because otherwise I think 2 years, it just ends up being too short and puts too much pressure on things. And then you still lose sight of, I think, the big picture without, it's hard to keep moving forward if you're always in the middle of a strategic plan every 2 years. So,
I think it's important that we have a way to utilize a plan to utilize all the work you've done. I know too many people who work for places that do something like this and it goes in a drawer. And
Right.
nobody looks at it.
And I don't want to, it's very easy to do that, and I
Yeah.
don't want that to happen.
So I appreciate.
The whole
that-
reporting and, the next steps of the committee are still shaping, but like my goal is to be able to refer to this, and hopefully have a public piece to say, let the public know, hey, here's our new plan, and maybe not initially, but like maybe at the end of the year, rather than tell them what we are working on for the next year, but at the end of that year, have a report to say, here's what we did, here, in relation to the strategic plan.
And that's on your goals. Could you refresh my memory, please? How much would this have expenditure for an outside source to do that?
It's hard to say exactly, it depends on the consultant, it probably could have cost anywhere between 10,000 to 30,000.
Thank you.
I think we spent $15,000 when we did it.
I thought, that's why I asked for that information. So,
And that can be great, but you can also have, varied results. So the committee was great, a huge help. Just the whole process has been, I think I told you previously, I would get stressed, come to a meeting. We talked through things and I felt much better after the meeting. So it was
the
wonderful.
entire team worked together. I could see that, and it is very blunted and very evident in reading. So thank you all.
So then I suppose if you don't have any changes or whatnot, then next month, we'll bring it for your official approval.
Okay,
I agree. They should adopt it and move on.
So if we're ready to move on to new business, the first item is approved next use of funds from maturing CDs. So we do need a motion on that first, then we can move on to the discussion.
I move to approve transferring the total funds from maturing CDs from Fifth Third to Illinois funds.
Second.
Okay, so motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Lazan. So then, Jason, I think, maybe walk us through this.
Sure. So we opened up those CDs at the very end of February, I believe. Okay. Yeah, I think they started officially at the beginning of March. So all three are going to mature in June. So we could investigate. I can ask what the rates are and see, but I know back in February when I asked them, the CD rates were lower than Illinois fund rate. So, in my opinion, and again, I'm not an expert, but I think it would probably be just as well, to transfer all to Illinois funds where they're still maintaining a very good rate. The only consideration, but everything's so volatile, it's hard to know whether things are going up or down. But the reason to do maybe a longer term, I think that when you gave me a spreadsheet of here's all the CDs to choose from. There was 6 months, there's 12 months, there's 3 years, there's 5 years. So if we were worried about, interest rates are going to tank, then that would be a reason to pick out a 3-year CD and then you lock in that rate. But the flip side of that is if for some reason rates go up, then we're stuck at that lower rate. So, but I don't have enough experience with interest rates and markets. And so I'm sorry, I don't have a very good recommendation on that and just whether that is a good or what is the right move to that. I just know what could happen. What the two flip sides of that option are, but in light of that, just the Illinois funds has the flexibility, like we can transfer in and out, one day,
That was one of my
and then the
questions.
next day, whereas
Yeah.
the CD, we have to wait for maturity. So I guess in the short term, I just like the idea of taking all that money, transferring it to Illinois funds, and then
Things start to change, we can transfer it.
Jason,
We need to.
what about limits, security? Would we have too much in the Illinois fund? Do you know what I'm?
so
trying to
I
ask?
do
I'm
know
not
what you
sure.
mean. I've to probably read through it thoroughly because it starts to make my eyes blaze. As I understand it, Illinois funds is very secure because all they deal with are government funds. So they know that every government institution using them has to adhere to these strict rules. So I don't think it's officially FDIC insured, but they have, strict guidelines for their investing and risk and whatnot. So
I'm just worried about the amount, and it sounds like that.
Because sometimes I feel like all our eggs in one basket, even though it's very lucrative. I don't know, I mean, again, I think at least 2 of the CDs should go in there, but I didn't know about maybe keeping 1 CD, and I'd still prefer either a 3-month or 6-month term rather than anything longer than that. But again, if you're recommending that it all go, then I have no problem with that too, but.
So even at this moment, with this motion, beginning of June, when those mature, we can transfer the money to Illinois funds. I can, closer to next month's meeting, or we even wait till July, whatever, I can inquire at the bank, what are the rates now?
I think
And then I can bring that to you And like I said,
yes,
the
yeah.
ideal thing about Illinois funds is that it's super flexible, so if
That's-
you decide to vote on, yeah,
Yeah.
let's get that 2-year CD at this rate. Then we just transfer funds from Illinois funds
I,
back to the bank and open up that CD.
I think that would be great.
So we can kind of just, we can keep an eye on it and.
Right,
And also keep in mind, like, right now, when I was. Trying to eyeball how this all play out, April and May are our 2 lowest months. Of funds, because it's the end of the fiscal year, we spent the most, but we still have a very healthy position. And so we've got, right now we have 250,000 at Illinois funds. We have this 750,000 through the CDs, that's $1 million right there. The financial statements in here, we're at like 800,000 or 900,000 at the bank, but we're about to hit the first property tax bill. So at the end of May or starting in June, we're gonna start getting the first year's worth of property tax payments. So all of a sudden, we will have plenty in just our regular bank account. So at that point, we can decide to move more to Illinois funds. There's also on the director's list there, some people have mentioned IMET. I don't know what that is, but I think it's just another, like, if we're wanting to diversify, so that it's not all in one pot.
Okay.
I can
I-
explore and find out what that is as another, place pot to put some money. But yeah, just. So right now, it feels like the majority of our money might get tied up in Illinois funds, but by come July. It'll be like half of it. And not the majority, because we're gonna get all that extra tax money.
Thanks.
So. But I think moving it to Illinois funds, and then if you want, I can periodically, I don't know whether every month, but
No,
every 2 months or 3 months, I
At
can
least once
check in at the
a
bank and say. What are your interest rates now? And then we can, make a decision. Oh, no, those sound good. Keep it at Illinois funds, or you know what? Things in the market look like they're about to go down. Why don't we take out a 6 month or a year, 2 year or something? So,
I
kind of
would say at
play by
least,
ear.
maybe just once a quarter is necessary, I wouldn't say.
We can be the eyes and ears too, if we hear things going on that affect interest rates. As long as they're mobile funds, I'm for it. As a sidebar, did you know that Fifth Third is closing their branch?
Yes, we did. Jackie is well aware.
Their rates are a whole lot less than Illinois funds.
well, what about Wind Trust? You were saying Wind Trust was.
I think they generally have more competitive interest rates. So, but that involves switching banks,
Yeah.
which is a much more labor intensive prospect. So that's why, and at least in the short term, we can explore that option if you want at some point. But in the short term, that's why I thought with Illinois funds, interest rates being so high at the moment, that seemed like it was easy to open up that account. And it was easy to transfer the money.
Well, and you need direction before the next board meeting, so.
Yeah, for Newmark. I know we tried to move it to the credit union before, because they invest into the community. But they couldn't collateralize it before, because they also have a park district.
Right.
But now they've been bought out by they've added other credit union to them, they're now, instead of North Star, they're now Newmark. So they do have a bigger. Right, so they might be able to collateralize that house. That's
I need
another option.
some
That's nice and close.
learn more and understand the collateralization process. And
I
we,
think right now we only need to decide what to do with the CD.
Yeah, let's just,
Yeah.
let's look at this motion, and this motion, as stated, is to move funds from Fifth Third to Illinois. So,
We need to.
now we need to vote on it now.
Yeah.
Right, so are we ready to vote, or is there
Yes.
further
I
discussion?
think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is a roll call, because it involves money, so,
What's the,
trustee Lazan,
what's
I-
on the table?
Right on your page.
trustee Peacock,
Here,
trustee DeRosa.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
And trustee Stowe votes aye. Motion passes, so, we're going to approve transferring the total funds from attorney CDs from Fifth Third to Illinois funds. So now we're on to the, okay.
Policy update.
Yeah, the policies which are all discussion. So the first one is reviewing updated policy number 455, prohibiting harassment, discrimination and retaliation, which starts on page 45.
All right, so Ian and I have been working on updating the personnel handbook. And we sent a copy to HR Source to review, sent it to their HR lawyers. And so they wrote back and said that's a 13. E or E, I believe. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is one of our official policies that just happened to be inserted into the personnel handbook as well, because it's relevant to personnel. But so all these changes pretty much are theirs. So they just come up.
That's
Yes.
okay.
That's a lot.
So they took, the first paragraph had something about discrimination. They took it out and made it its own section. Under other harassment, they crossed out one section and rewrote a new section.
We got our money's worth.
We did. There's a whole bunch for the resolution outside the library that they felt was irrelevant and not needed, so they struck all that. I double checked in some of the phone numbers and updated those because some of them were out of date. So generally, I don't think there's a whole lot necessarily for us to change, because the changes here were recommended by the HR lawyers. So,
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good to me.
yes, yes.
So then unless
Do we
unless
invent the
something jumps out at somebody, if we don't have any changes, we can approve that next one.
You have any comments, Ian?
No, I love how they did there.
Ian likes it. All right, rubber stamp
You
it.
have to do it.
So then, item C then is doing the updated policy number 370, the meeting room. So again, for discussion.
I have to say, I was floored at what our prices were.
I looked at it too and I was like, whoa.
It's like,
So was I. I felt like I asked Jackie, I'm like, has anyone ever paid for any of this? And she said, no. So to which, to me, says we're
My
charging,
left finger if you let me write it.
way too much. So I don't know if $20 will all of a sudden inspire a bunch of people to want us to sell the room for them. I kind of doubt it. I doubt anybody still wants to pay that much. But certainly the $50 fee for that seems expensive. And I think some of the other fees for the AV was maybe more when we just had one person who could help with that. So maybe it was more needing to schedule their time versus now most of the public services staff with it, adult and youth, know how to use the AV because they do program it themselves. And so if somebody is having a meeting in the evening and they need help, they can jump out to the desk. And if Duncan's not here, if it's past 7 o'clock, they can ask somebody at the desk and they're more than likely are able to come in and help troubleshoot. So like I said, I think that's why those fees are so high. I'm not quite sure, but what did I change it to? $50?
yes.
Flat fee
Yeah.
for everything, no matter how long or not you're doing.
Okay,
That seems more reasonable, still maybe more expensive than it needs to be, but certainly way less than 75, 150, 200, $250.
These are like hotel fees.
Right.
When was the original policy last approved?
Yeah, I was looking.
I
for
can't
that.
find it.
2017.
2017.
I couldn't find it.
It was in the very first sentence,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
under
Oh,
the,
I do see. it.
under my
So
narrative part.
that's- Yeah, that's.
So I added a general, like prohibited section, kind of separated that out and made a general statement at the end, just because I was looking at some other libraries policies. Some had, a lot of very specific things that they prohibited. Well, I don't know how in the weeds we want to get, but if we have this general statement that says anything that's going to disrupt library services, it's prohibited. So that kind of gives us flexibility in
And
the
I
way.
get to say what that is.
Exactly.
You don't know.
I am the master.
We had, you needed at least a week to reserve a room, and lately we'd had several people request a room in less than a week. The room's open and we were able to accommodate it, so I thought, well, why not just stay 2 business days? Then hopefully 3 business days gives us enough time to let staff know that there's a meeting happening. Do any setup if we need to, but it's a little more flexible and friendly to those actually reserving the room.
So when somebody reserves it, like, say somebody comes in at 10 o'clock in the morning, reserves it, then will somebody so that somebody comes in 11 o'clock and reserves that same room, they would already see the person that came in at 10 o'clock that reserved it, would already blocked that room out, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe theoretically, like if they did it online, then it should be blocked off. Pending approval, but it should be blocked off.
Tentative to the approval.
So if they did it in person. And then the next person tried to do it online, I suppose that could be a tricky situation. I don't think we've ever had that happen.
It's still put in though, into the system, the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of a matter of like within an hour, how quickly you were able to get it and input it.
Well, if it was for that exact day. Might
But-
be a little.
I don't think we've had an issue with that, so. And then we added Sundays to the availability. Upped the limit of reservations from 1 to 2 a month. And then just gave a little more vague, friendly wording about food and drink. I understand the no red or purple dye. I've experienced that before, but also it's just on public policy feels unfriendly to state. And then we've had pizza for board meetings. And the policy as it was written, didn't seem like it really allowed for that. So I'm like, well, if we're having pizza, whoever's reserving should be able to have food.
I remember one situation, and I guess it was meant to, is that there was a program being set up, and I guess it was a mother and child, and she brought her child in here and was allowing, I don't know, like McDonald's or something else where, and it's like, well, we needed that consumed in the cafe area, and she was very upset and irate that we were asking her to do that when, you know, she was busy in here setting up and wanted to supervise her child, and was like, well, I can't sit there and eat dinner in here, but anyway, I don't know, I remember it becoming a big issue at one point.
So yeah, I mean, we had, you know, snacks or packaged foods or whatever, but in my mind, if we have had hot food and pizza, then what your observer should also be able to do the same. So
Retirement party.
I think those were the highlights of the changes, and then we just added a little wording. I don't think there was any wording that specifically stated that you could reserve it online, so we added that in. And say what system, in case we change the system. So those are the big changes, I think. Any
Okay.
ideas or thoughts?
Wait,
Good for next month?
And I'm probably just missing it because my Evelyn reading courses kicked in. But if someone does do damage, do we, is that at your discretion? Is there a fine or where am I supposed to?
We don't have a specific fine listed.
I don't think we need a specific fine, but do we have something that says any damage or? Yeah, I didn't see that and I'm just curious why that wouldn't be included.
You know, now that the way you asked that question, I'm not sure, I'd have to read through it more thoroughly. I'm not sure that we specifically state you will be fined or charged.
I'm just saying something
if they-
responsible for damage, it's a simple thing, just to,
Yeah, because I mean, I hate to think that somebody comes in here and if it's, something is damaged, it's like, oops, sorry, and they walk out.
or or somebody is smart enough to come back and say, well, you didn't have it in your policy that I would be fine.
Or even if they said, well, that wasn't me,
Yeah.
even though obviously before they came in, it was fine.
Page 60.
There
Is
we
it
go.
there? Thank you, Jackie.
The applicant and authorized individual shall be jointly and severally liable for any breakage, damage, or
That's what I
specified liability
wanted to
property.
hear. Okay, sorry, I didn't see it.
Damages and their cleanup costs will be billed at a rate equal to the actual cost. of 20%.
Oh, there I see it.
Yeah. So
Okay, thank
we
you.
state that that'll happen, and then
You too.
in N, we state that permission may be withheld to use the room based on damage to the room. If you have previously done that or violation.
Right.
So,
Okay, I'm happy.
So if there's any further discussion, if we can move on to review of data policy number 371 study room, that's on page
He's actually
62.
busy.
I think
Been on my list for, oh, we have a lot of policies to get through this year.
I didn't realize you couldn't eat and study.
You cannot.
Wow.
It makes sense.
It makes sense, but.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think-
smaller space.
And part of it is. I would like to allow, but the one consideration is for the desk staff. Not having to go in
And clean
and
it.
wipe down tables
That's
after
right.
every single use.
Right,
And that is a pain and an annoyance, and we don't want to be housekeepers, and so
and you would
therefore
have
it
to
is.
do it, it's just, it would just have to be so, because
Yeah.
people are not tidy.
So, but yeah, so I wanted to, it wasn't specifically stated that you couldn't, but we knew we weren't allowing it, so I wanted to add that in.
And has anybody ever tried to cover the windows?
Yes. I think, some people do some interviews or, 2 or 3 person meetings, they want more privacy, but, and I get that, but also our
Yeah,
rooms and, people can do questionable things when they have
Yes.
that much privacy, so we don't want to give it. That's why they're frosted, but we can still see it and monitor.
well, I think it was a good call. Thank you.
No, they're not allowed, so I know it said, also covered beverages are permitted, so it means like a bottle of water or something.
And then the weird thing, we talked about it, we talked all about all this, but the section 3, the equal opportunity. I'm assuming that was maybe inserted by lawyers, because it's the same sort of section that's in the meeting room policy. But in my mind, the study rooms are not the same type of use, like maybe people are having a meeting in there, but if anything is gonna limit the number of people that are going in there, it's not due to equal opportunity, it's due to the room size, that only 3 people or 4 people can fit in it, not because they're discriminating against anybody. So that didn't really, and somehow by adding that in, to me, it implied that if I'm just using the room myself, I've reserved the study room, then I can't discriminate against anybody coming in and joining me while I'm just trying to study for a test or work on my resume or something. So it seemed weird. I'm like, the study rooms are kind of individual use and not, maybe you're having a meeting, but it's not generally, it's a public setting in the same way. So I just removed that because it didn't.
So since you removed 2 sections, then are you going to renumber the other section?
Yeah.
Okay, because I noticed it's like 1, 2, 4, 5.
Yeah, once I delete them, I will.
Okay.
I think the other one, it got renumbered better, but I haven't done it yet.
Good work on this.
Yes,
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very,
All
yeah.
right, now, we move on to 13E.
Oh.
I'm loving this.
Okay,
I am
yes,
loving this.
under new
Two of
business,
us
we can
going.
move on to item E, the personnel handbook.
All right,
So like I mentioned previously, we have copy back, we need to. Flesh out the actual changes into a nice copy, but the questions I have there are. How would you like to review the handbook?
this is gonna be a monster.
I would like to review it in pieces, because I can tell you, if you give me a book like this and tell me we're gonna discuss it, I'm not gonna get through it.
But it's also be easier to discuss it in meeting in pieces.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, we'd be here.
To all night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 2, chunks.
So what's your next question?
That's the chunks part.
And I would say, I don't necessarily need to see the changes, I'd rather
Yeah.
just see the clean copy.
I
easier
agree.
Reading, easier reading.
But sometimes the changes,
Yeah, if you're presenting
Confusing.
a bulleted outline, that's all I need,
Yeah.
I need to see the red line.
Fantastic.
how many, let me look, how many, as far as question number 1, how many pages are we looking at? Or how many chunks are we looking at?
The handbook has 5 sections plus an appendix.
You have 5 sections, probably around 230 pages.
So
We
there,
can
I'm
read
asking
one
this,
section at
because
a
it
time.
be one section at a time, part of our meeting then,
First section's only a few pages, and maybe first.
or maybe
sections could be done.
coupled together that
Yeah,
are small.
Yeah,
And can then we make it just part of our regular agenda, or do
Yeah.
we need a committee as a whole? Are they that large?
well, I thought that, the regular meeting could review a chunk,
That's what
And
I'm
then-
asking. Yeah.
and then the committee as a whole would approve the entire thing at the
I think you could just do it still as an agenda.
Yeah.
I think,
agenda.
You know, I don't think you
right,
can.
you'd want to approve it at the main meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think regular meeting chunks, no edits for me.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
You say translate?
Yep.
Edits.
So then on to.
I don't want to see all the redlining.
So then on the number, on to the director's report, item 14, starting page 67.
All right.
This picture.
Where is the picture?
It's,
Oh, I have not, we haven't hung it yet, but it's gonna be along the wall, windows and adult services.
very pretty. The colors are-
Put some art in here. I've been asking and
Yes.
asking and asking. We need some art in the room.
Chef Dave's not coming back anymore.
I'm gonna be crazy.
There is the good.
Right there,
It's not big enough
right
to,
there, somewhere.
we've got, I've been meaning when I get some time to go downstairs, we've got that pretty full of art that all accumulated.
Great full of art.
So we'll see what might fit.
I don't know.
This is part of my report as a heads up. I'm planning on taking next week off, so I won't be here. If you need me, you can text me. Call me.
We'll just call Jackie.
I'm taking it on.
Okay, well, then we have a plan. Is the fall next in line? And will we be
He's
following?
on to.
The
Jackie's
library's
taking
closed
on
next week.
vacation.
So we flip a coin. Okay, who's in charge right now?
It is nice.
So I did an update there about the IMLS funding. I forgot to add in, I don't know if you're aware, additional news items, they. I gotta get the exact details wrong. They fired the,
Library Congress Director.
yes. And
They hired. Then that, didn't they have a protest like?
like one other person. But anyway, they were thinking that they were getting inappropriate material, but that is not the function of the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress gets every single book printed. And it is a research library. The children don't go in and sit in the kids area and check the books like that's, so they are either misunderstanding or misrepresenting what it is the library.
Yes.
But it's clearly a political. But, the attorneys general, their lawsuit worked temporarily. There's a court order to stop the dismantling of IMLS. It didn't say anything, but they've already fired a bunch of people.
Already done it.
It's, and I think in practice dismantled already, and there's nobody to administer the funding. So, and there's, if the funding for it isn't in the next budget,
It's done.
the court order is necessarily good. But anyway, it was nice that Representative Foster wanted to hear from librarians and whatnot about the impact, so I still, don't know what shape it'll take, but I still trust that between Swan, Rails, Heartland, and the Illinois State Library will still have delivery. It's just a matter of will be an extra
In
cost.
Illinois.
Will be an extra cost, yeah, in Illinois, will be an extra cost, will Rails have to cut something else in order to fund it, will it be, fewer days of delivery? Like, I think something will have to happen,
Yeah.
but I trust that because it's such a center point of the Illinois libraries, I don't think it's gonna go away. Maybe naively, but I'm trusting in that, but something will happen to make it stay.
So one quick question I had then in regards to that. So I know that obviously it affects Rails. Does it affect sound that we're part of?
Yeah,
Okay, I mean, that's what I was trying to figure out.
because
When
the
it-
books
was
go
it-
through Swan. I mean,
Yeah,
Swan, the
so-
books go through Rails.
So part of it may be our Swan membership fees might go up. In order to pay Rails for because the delivery is outsourced through Rails. But obviously with the consortium of Swan, it is easy amongst us 100 libraries. Delivery, part of it is because the whole shared catalog makes it really, really easy. But Rails is the one who facilitates the delivery.
That's what I was trying to get at. I mean, I knew Rails was the transportation, but I wasn't sure the Swan portion. Thanks. Thank you for clarifying.
So in that respect, I think Swan is in a good position. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a little while now. I thought in the fall, Aaron Scope, the director of Swan, said something to the effect of, we have enough money in reserves, should funding not come through to get us through the next year. What happened after that? Don't know, but But that's for Swan. I don't know if they're all, they're standalone libraries, there are small libraries, maybe can't afford that increase in membership fees. So it'll definitely be interesting, but I'm hopeful that one way or another, maybe painfully so, we'll still have delivered. But it'll just be a matter of how it shakes out.
Or you might have to pay, like when you get books from out of state, you have to pay, I think it's posted.
That we do, yeah, we do postage, no matter what. So if it's from a library in Illinois, we have the ILDS delivery system, so it goes to Rails and then it's a special slip, then they know to distribute it and it gets delivered to wherever it is in Illinois. If we are doing an interlibrary loan to the Denver library, then we are just putting it in an envelope, slapping postage on it, and mailing it out. We get a special library rate at the post office, but, so that won't change. But if your point being, we might have to mail things within
Yeah.
Illinois, I suppose that's,
I mean, I've
possibility.
gotten books from Canada. So,
so, I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully within Swan, we're gonna have to have delivery because
at
that would
this library,
be-
no, where I used to live. I've gotten books from Canada, Library of Congress, etc.
I'll keep you updated as I learn more.
Yeah.
You all are paying attention to the news too, so. But, I'm excited about having a practicum student in the fall.
That
I'm
is so
blanking
exciting.
on her name all of a sudden, but management is great at being excited and willing to take someone on to pay back into the system, so.
That is so cool.
I'm excited about having a seed library.
Yeah,
Well, and an
Um,
Eagle Scout.
I wanted to bring something up about that. When I was in Niles, I went to the library and they do have the seed library. And I took a bunch of pictures of how they did it.
okay,
I mean, they have like the drawers and the seat and just the whole way, the catalog and everything they have with that.
I would happily take those pictures. I think
Okay,
Sure.
in terms of the
ideas.
Eagle Scout project, I think he had a design in mind and probably a skill set of what he can build. So I'm not sure that we have a whole lot of flexibility in giving him input. That is what we
I don't
want.
understand putting it outside.
Right, they had like the old fashioned library, remember for the card catalog, and that's how they had the different seeds in there.
He offered to either have it, his initial thought was to have it staked and go outside. We could have it be on a stand and either be closer to the door or we could bring it inside. Then it's a matter of finding where inside we would put it.
Well, they have to be dry.
Right.
They
They have
can't
to
be
be
wet or
kept dry.
damp.
But it'll be it's like a little free library. Like you don't want,
Yeah, but the
The books
heat
in those
and the
little free libraries.
cold and the humidity all would affect the seeds.
But is it year-round? Something maintained?
You don't want to.
Well, you start planting stuff in January. I mean, I started planting seeds in January under grow lights and heat mats.
okay.
Yeah, so you want access to seeds.
Right. And then they're counting on people like in Niles, people donate their seeds.
That's good.
So then you're donating that into the fall. So it's a whole,
I just Googled it and they do have there's a way to do sea libraries. I just assumed it should be dry and inside.
yeah,
That's
they
my
have theirs
assumption.
inside.
Yeah, but I just Googled it and
So at the moment, the thought was to put it over by the butterfly garden.
is there could it be under the overhang? So the overhang-
It could, then we might need to have it be on a stand rather than staked into the ground.
Right.
So I know there's a lot of libraries that have them and, some very simple, some way more complex and so. A free project from the Eagle Scout,
Right.
so it's happy to just take it as
Yeah.
is, see how it works. If it works, then great, we keep it. If we decide, we really would have liked this to be different, then, we've had it for a year or two. It was a free donation project we helped out an Eagle Scout, then we could be like, okay, in 2 years from now, how did it work? Let's see if we can change it or make it
Maybe
better.
there'll be another.
Or bring it inside or.
Yeah, this was just like an old card catalog, and then it had the binder. And then place for you like to, there was some company that donated seeds and stuff like that. It was just set up on a little counter. In the library, that's how it was.
I can tell you the sad story, and see, a lot of times it. Not see this, but, you know, like you have your seeds in envelopes and they're labeled and where they're from and they're in a cart, you know, like a bin. Somebody walked out with an entire bin from Downers Grove. They stole the entire seed library. From the Downers Grove library.
Same.
Yeah, I took a bunch of pictures and I got a couple of seed packets.
But, yeah, that's
A lot of
exactly what
shit.
you were saying with the old card catalog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how Niles had a little card catalog.
His design kind of looked like a birdhouse, and then it had a bunch of slots for all of the envelopes, so.
Let's just see what he does.
Yeah, I think you gotta let them.
And see if there's any residents using it.
Right,
Yeah.
Before
so like, I was like, I was a little hesitant at first, just because I wasn't sure if it was gonna end up being exactly what we wanted, had we done it ourselves. But being a high school student, I didn't know how really detailed and directing we wanted for his, you know, he's putting it together himself, so I'm just like, if he has a vision,
let him have it.
let's see how it goes and let him have it, so.
He's supposed to research it before he proposes it, so.
Rick can be his mentor.
Wasn't Scott, it wasn't Scott.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
No, I don't.
Do you remember what
Well,
scout
this is Eagle Scout project, that's something.
Yeah,
I would imagine they would require him to have a mentor.
yeah.
He does.
Scout
does, and he
leader.
has a council, he has to get things approved by, which he is apparently moving slower than he anticipated. He reached out yesterday, let us know it'll be more like July or August that'll have done rather than June.
We used to get a bunch of people, he is, my son did his Eagle Scout, thanks to my husband and to. But yeah, so. it's a
So in
big
my mind, it
process.
was, you know, and it may or may not end up being what exactly we wanted, but I figure it's a way to support the local kid doing this project. And at the very worst, you know, we have something that we can keep. Or we take it and give it a trial for a year or two, and then we learn from it and be like, all right, this was great, but here's how we can make it better.
and who knows, maybe he's got a younger buddy who's gonna do his Eagle Scout next year, and they might do something else. for them.
Yeah, it's good.
In the interim, the two-page forest preserve is expecting their wildflower seed package shortly, and they know that I'm interested in getting some.
I was there today, it was a giant basket of them.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're-
I'll collect that.
So is there anything else I want to highlight from your report?
No, I think that is it.
So I'm ready to go on to department head reports. Is there anything people have questions about or that the department has like to highlight or?
I would just like to say that 836 participants in 51 programs is an amazing statistic. Thank you. There. And I also, and it could be because I haven't read everything, I love this little member feedback on the end of it. Those were great to hear. You can make that a little feedback.
Good.
And that's great. Very good.
Well, the only thing I would say that is just that we switch back to Wednesday, so we have to miss, trustees have to miss at least 2 of the concerts this year, so. Anyway,
I also was impressed, sorry, on the efforts with the active shooter. All the feedback that's going on, that's a lot of work and a lot of thinking. It's very, very good. And then I may have asked this question before, but on those fire extinguishers. It's the fire department require us to have a listing somewhere of where all the fire extinguishers are located and when they are annually inspected.
All the extinguishers themselves have tags that have the inspection on them. We do twice a year. As far as location, I believe, the thing in the vestibule, it's got that.
I didn't know, and I have a note here to ask.
so then I guess, to the president report, there's something else on the department heads.
I really don't think Heather will meet on June 21st, because that's a Saturday.
Yes, That was my mistake. It should be 18th, June 18th.
If we are, I'm not coming because it's my birthday.
Do not come on the 21st, come on the 18th. please.
Okay,
That's my mistake.
so, anyway, yeah, so June 18th, correction, and then Wednesday, June 16th. And Wednesday, 20th. And, excuse me, right now, the Coney trustee banquet is May 30th, and I believe Penny is going, and.
Right.
April, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so then on to the new treasurer's report, trustee DeRosa.
I'm just gonna let our former treasurer, who is still
Oh,
a treasurer,
Over there writing your name.
say her piece.
Just saying, we did pretty good on interest for the 3 months. I mean, it's, $5,700 total. An extra income, so that panned out to be pretty good. Yeah,
I'm here is good.
you bet, and everything else is good.
Alright, so then as the outgoing secretary, everything is great, and then looking forward to turning the baton over to the new secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I probably want to talk to Jackie and you sometime, like I'll contact you, like give me some tips. and stuff, So we can have a smooth transition.
So then, committee reports, personnel committee.
Well, now that's. Sure.
I read your goals. I particularly want to make a comment on the annual report. I think that's a fabulous tool to let the community know what the library has done. And I've never seen that done here previously, and maybe that's wrong, but and of course, I'm going to tell you, I like the building evaluation and the maintenance schedule.
Sorry, that is, third year that has put it up.
When is this? To do like a little annual report on a bookmark.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I just think I haven't seen it for a while, so I just thought it was a good one. Thank you.
Okay, so then, at this point, do we have any additional trustee comments?
Are we gonna have more presentations like Gail's? I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, I don't know entirely that involved, but yes, the goal was for the former
Right.
president was to have some more
From each of the
presentations and
departments would be
engagement.
Great, something, so you can start thinking about what you
We want to hear from our experts over here, our expert panel.
I also want to say that at the Niles Library, you were talking, they have what they call a library of things
Oh, yeah.
that you can check out. And they had a
Tools.
book, and they actually had a display case that said library of things, and they would change some of the things that were in there, so people, and they had a booklet where you can actually look at the stuff that were offered, which was kind of nice. We were talking about having
We're
like
gonna do that.
the blenders and things like that, and just to give people an idea up front when they walk into the library, hey, we have all these things. Because there's a lot of people that don't know we have it. I thought that was a really cool idea.
Yep, that'll be part of even before the surveys and expanding it to the library things, we've been talking about how can we make the Tectico collection more useful. So
Yeah.
So that'll go hand in hand with expanding it.
It was really kind of, and it was just in, just like a little binder. And they had, the pictures with little pictures and listing of the stuff.
We actually do have a binder, the services of that, it's a little out of date, I don't think anyone's ever looked at it.
But yeah, but then they
It's
had,
sexy, huh, Kathy?
but then they also had, the display case with stuff in it, which kind of, brings it to your attention.
Get out some pictures of Betty Crocker.
Yeah.
So then if there's nothing else, may I propose a 5-minute break before we go into closed session? So.
So the break last time.
I want to start there, so. Let's start.
Okay, I don't know how to do it, yes.
I'm gonna recycle.
Okay, but we're gonna have to start it again.
Right, so,
But don't we need to have a vote to?
first we're going to probably get a break.
Oh.
I need to do that.
Okay, I got you. I
Because
got
I'm sure it's gonna make this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
I have to, I'm a learner by doers.
Okay, so like, okay, yeah, they're fine. So
I don't think.
This is before.
yes.
I make the motion.
Right, well, we have
Yes.
showing us, so we're still in open session. So now we need to do the motion.
I move that we go into closed session.
Oh, you have to read the whole motion.
Sorry. I move that we go into closed session as allowed by 5 ILCS 120/2. Parent C, parent 3, for the purpose of discussing.
Turn one.
So 3.
Should say, no. You're looking at the wrong. one. Oh,
No.
it should be this one, so that's.
Yeah.
That's my mistake.
So it's, you're on the last page of this, but otherwise, if you want to do the agenda, then it's.
Oh, okay.
Spreading the checks.
I move that we go into closed session, enter closed session as allowed by 5 ILCS 120/2, parent C, click Karen 1, for the purpose of discussing the selection of a person to fill a public office. Okay, we have a second.
Second. Oh, boy, that was fun.
So, that was, motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Warren. Oh, of the many people that we decided to second that. And so then that is a roll call vote, so trustee DeRocher. It's a vote, yes, to go into closed session.
Aye.
Okay, trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Pito.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
I,
Trustee Stoll votes aye, so now we are, okay, push the button,
stop,
yeah.
this one,
Stop. You wanna push stop,
actual stop.
Okay.
okay,
Okay,
and then
we are going back now in, right now, start the time. We're going back in at 9:26.
correct, so now we're taking it, a roll call, but trustee DeRocher, present. Trustee Lazan,
Here.
trustee Warren,
Present.
trustee Pika,
Present.
and trustee Schmidt,
Present.
and trustee Stoll is present, along with executive director Stone. Okay,
Now,
So
what do you
now-
want this motion to say?
okay. So then, we need a motion resulting from the above closed session.
I move to authorize Barbara DeRocher to contact the preferred trustee candidates as discussed to offer the vacant trustee position and secure acceptance of appointment for the June 18, 2025 regular meeting. Is that good?
Do I need to write down everything you just said?
No.
Or
No.
you've got it? Okay.
So
I
that-
second.
Second, your name is in it.
Okay,
So
so,
wait, who moved it? Jerry
Yeah.
moved it.
and then
I
trustee
seconded.
Lazan seconded it. Okay, so now that's a roll call vote. So trustee DeRocher. Aye. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan.
Should I
Trustee.
Since my name's in,
Wait, what?
should I abstain since my name's in?
No.
No.
Again, you're not getting money from the.
Okay.
So.
It's an.
Try not to complicate it, I just don't
Yeah,
know.
no, the trustee still votes aye as well. Okay, so
I
then,
move to adjourn.
now we have one more motion.
She just moved. She just did it.
I
So
move to adjourn this meeting.
trustee Pika moves to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Trustee DeRocher seconds, and then voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any Opposed?
I got a question.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 9:28.